listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin. Homeschooling is really about two things: mindset and action. We tend to put all of our focus on the action part of this equation, the curriculum, the lesson plans, what activities we'll do tomorrow. But there's so much more to it. And we begin to realize this, I think, as time goes on. How we think and feel about ourselves, our children, our progress, those all profoundly affect any action that we might be taking. And while you'll often hear me say it's the doing that counts, right? That's where the learning happens, is in the doing. When I'm talking about learning, that is a mantra that I use often with parents. And that's how we make progress, right? With our children and their learning. But our mindset is what motivates us to take that action. Okay, so mindset. We probably all have heard so much talk about mindset, but what exactly is mindset? Well, it's simply the established set of attitudes held by me, by you, by someone, an established set of attitudes. You have probably heard the phrase positive mindset or growth mindset, or in Waldorf circles, maybe you've heard the phrase inner work. All of that is really the practice of diving deeper into your inner self, right? Those attitudes that you hold and the way that you look at the world, right? It's all the practice of diving deeper into your inner self for the purposes, really, of self-exploration, self-understanding, healing, and even spiritual connection. That's why I created the Inner Work Journey. This is a course that I created about 3 years ago, and I can't wait to share more with you about it. You'll hear more in the coming weeks. We start this year in 2022 on March 20th. So if you're listening to this in real time, you might be interested in the Inner Work Journey and checking it out. It's a group that I lead every spring. And this year, we're focusing on 3 things: self-compassion, self-talk, and self-preservation. 3 weeks of really acceptance and possibility to strengthen your inner landscape. We explore, practice, share in small groups. And as I said, this year, we begin the week of the equinox. Actually, on the equinox on March 20th. So look for more about that. Here, though, is your starting point for simple self-acceptance practices for parents. That's what this episode is all about. And I have 3 techniques to share with you that you can try out today. First one, it's called The Power of Yet. There's even a sweet little picture book called The Power of Yet. It's the story of this little piglet who uses this tool to conquer frustration while learning anything new, like riding a bike or playing a violin. And today I want to suggest you start with yourself. Listen to how you talk to yourself. What do you find yourself saying in a critical way, perhaps? Or when you say, I can't do that, or I'm no good at blank, I'm no good at teaching math. This is what happens every single time. Have you ever found yourself speaking to yourself that way? Maybe it's, I don't know how to bring more poetry to my children. But when you add the word yet at the end, it sounds like this: I don't know how to bring poetry to my children yet. Or maybe it's something like this: I just can't seem to get my children to join in. And instead, With the power of yet, it sounds like I haven't been able to get my children to join in yet. Do you see how this powerful 3-letter word can really shift our thoughts from feeling like this task or goal is impossible to more of a sense of possibility and openness to discovering and trying new things? There's even a Sesame Street song that I found called The Power of Yet. And the lyrics of the refrain say, "You just didn't get it yet, but you'll get it soon, I bet. That's the power of yet." All right. The second technique is similar and a great tool for when you're in the middle of your journey learning something new. And I must say that really the entire homeschooling journey for us as parents is almost always about learning something new. Even as you continue this journey from one year to the next, even if you're homeschooling, from the beginning, from kindergarten or first grade, and you're in high school now, each year brings new content to teach, new skills, and are changing children, right? They're growing and developing themselves. So this every single year is really something new. Each year it's new and often something we've never taught before. So sometimes we as parents respond by stressing over the fact that we don't know the material yet, or we just don't know how to teach it or bring it to our children. That is often a sentiment that I hear from homeschooling parents, and I felt that way too. So instead of saying, "I have no idea how to teach ancient civilizations," you might simply say to yourself, "This year, I'm learning how to teach ancient civilizations." Can you hear the shift in that? Remember to use this phrase, "I'm learning how to," and then fill it in for yourself for everything that you explore and want to bring to your children, from knitting to reading to multiplication tables. You may need to learn it or relearn it yourself, the topic, the subject, in order to bring the skill to your kids. But that's exactly the opportunity homeschooling provides us. We get to learn along with. So remember to try out the phrase, "I'm learning how to." And the third practice is acceptance. Wow, this is a big one. It sounds so simple, but again, this is probably a lifetime of practice. Honestly, we want to practice accepting it all, right? Positive, negative, the whole range of feelings, emotions, feelings of frustration and excitement, the whole range. And before we can accept our children, their challenges, their resistance, their bickering, perhaps, we want to practice acceptance on ourselves. One great way to begin practicing is to forgive yourself when you make a mistake, because we're only human and we're going to make mistakes. So we want to consciously forgive ourselves. And then once you've accepted and forgiven yourself, you can apologize to your children or to whomever if it's something that involves others. I have a funny story about my middle son, Ben. So when my boys were little, and before our daughter was born, so they're just two boys, 16 months apart. I'm the mother of two at that stage, and I had a mommy timeout chair. So instead of putting my kids in timeout, I'd put myself in timeout. It was in our bedroom and was really a way for me to step away, to take a moment and to let the big emotions, whatever they might be that I was experiencing, to let those big emotions settle and to find some acceptance. So one day I had yelled at the boys for something. I honestly don't even remember what, and then gone into my room for a little timeout in my timeout chair, slamming the door behind me. I remember I was fuming. And after a short break, I calmed down. I can't say definitively that I was able to say to myself, "I'm learning how to help my children work through conflict," or even "I'm learning how to accept all the emotions in my family." But I think I was beginning to grapple with this practice, with these ideas of self-acceptance. So I returned to the living room after my time out and apologized to my boys for yelling. To which my 4-year-old, with these big, beautiful brown puppy dog eyes, looked up at me and said, "That's okay, Mommy. We're used to it." Oh, broke my heart. But now as I look back, it's really quite humorous out of the mouths of babes, right? And that was the day that I really started working on accepting both myself and my boys for who we are, right? For who we are so that I could be more present during heightened emotions, because that's often when we have our biggest challenges. When someone is angry or sad or frustrated or just upset in some way, it can be very hard for us to even think straight. And I started learning as a young mother to accept the full range of emotions that are a part of family life. Somehow, when we are able to accept, the power struggle lessens a little bit, the tensions release a bit, and we can then think more clearly and begin to see how to move forward. We can begin to feel and see a way forward. In my own parenting journey, heck, in my human journey, I've found that the practice of self-acceptance is a lifelong affair, starting with accepting myself, mistakes and all, and then moving out from there. So there you have it. 3 techniques you can use starting today to help you shift from self-criticism to self-acceptance, so you can choose the path of self-compassion. I promise this will fuel your action taking in a big way. So wherever you want to dive in, it's going to help you on your parenting journey. And of course, if you need help with the taking action in your homeschool part, I'm here for that too. So check out my coaching program, Inspired at Home, or book a one-on-one mentor session with me to help you get unstuck so you can move forward with your homeschool lessons. You'll find links to both of those in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining me today. You can find the show notes for this episode at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 71. That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.